Hi, I'm AnMarie, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about liberation. Growing up as a tomboy, and went to college with my boyfriend. He was a really good guy, but I got put on the floor with the women, a lot of folks from the women's basketball team, and I thought they were awesome. In fact, I wanted to spend every minute with them. Turns out all the ones that I was hanging out with were queer, but I didn't know that the whole first term because in Iowa at that time everybody was very closeted except for a few of the radical folks, and we weren't hanging out with them. So my friends were great. They're queer, they're closeted. Nonetheless, it was obvious to me that I really loved hanging out with them, and I probably had a dream or two that did not disturb me in the slightest. It just felt very natural and great. By the time the second semester came around, I found out that they were queer. We went to gay bars, I started dating, everything was great. But like I said, we were closeted, so what that meant was every friend of mine, no matter how close, if they were not queer, they did not know that my best friend was actually my partner. And so that involved an enormous amount of lying. We had to make up what we did every weekend. We pretended to go on dates. Sometimes we actually went on dates for cover. And it was kind of a remarkable and exciting time. It was really exciting to find this underground scene, but it was also stressful. There was a lot of stress around that. And come time for graduation, I got an internship opportunity. I could have gone to San Francisco, LA, or Boise, Idaho. And I guess my preference was Boise, Idaho, because I was a bit of a farm girl. That opportunity didn't look as good, though, and LA seemed pretty big, so I reluctantly, I guess, really it was reluctantly, I chose San Francisco. And I came out here, and it was awesome. My boss was a lady probably in her mid-60s who I felt a little sorry for her because she was wearing a brooch that was the pink triangle sign for gay pride, and I thought this poor, what was at that time, because I was early 20s, older lady, didn't know what she was wearing. She was wearing a gay pride brooch, and then I know she was wearing that all week, and she was wearing it the next week. And I started in August, and by the time National Coming Out Day came around in October, I thought maybe she actually is gay. And she was gay. And I came out to her, and she was obviously very supportive. She had my intermediate supervisor and her husband come out to dinner with me that night, and I went out with her and her partner. And we went to the sausage factory in the Castro, and it was just a really, really liberating experience. And they gave me the Life and Times of Harvey Milk, the documentary about Harvey Milk. The Sean Penn film obviously wasn't out yet. It was 1991. And, you know, it made me cry. I couldn't, you know, believe his story. I actually had heard his story as a child in second grade. And my mom had some queer friends, but to just like see gay people going through that struggle and living so fiercely was great. And you know, from that moment on in San Francisco, I lived really fiercely, and I really enjoyed gay culture and was completely immersed in it, and was completely out with everybody, and was extremely liberating. I said it had a tinge of exile. I did feel a little bit like this newfound freedom only lived in San Francisco. And I missed Iowa. I missed my folks, my family in Iowa, and I felt a little bit like I could not go back, because I knew I couldn't go back to being closeted. And I felt like that meant that I couldn't go back to Iowa or the Midwest. You know, about 5 years later, I decided to try graduate school in what they said was the Berkeley of the Midwest, Ann Arbor, Michigan. and I was a little bit set for battle. In Iowa, I'd had some hard times, not hard times, but just the being closeted. We'd had some experiences where even in like a gay supportive bar, it was supposedly gay friendly, and we were there with a woman from the basketball team, my partner, and a gay guy who was kind of small, and he asked for them to play some kind of gay themed song, I forget which one, and that somehow set the bartender off and made him unhappy, so he followed us out with a little baseball bat and basically was kicking us out of the bar with this baseball bat. Well, when we got outside to the parking lot, the woman from the basketball team was 6'2", and she had gone to her car, and she's like, "You got a little bat? You got a little bat, MF? Let's go." And she pulled out a giant lead pipe and raised that at him, and he got pulled back inside the bar by his friend. So we had a few instances like that in Iowa, at least a couple, and I was ready for the same in Michigan. It was 5 years later, so now it's mid-90s, and I had an incident right at the start where somebody wrote a gay slur on our dorm room wall, and I freaked out, and I took a Hothead Paison cartoon, and I basically wrote a sign back that whoever wrote that sign on my door was a big coward, and if they had something to say about it, they needed to come talk to me. And I made a multicolor lesbian sign and put it on my back, and I wore that all day for National Coming Out Day and put my name in the newspaper, and I never had a problem after that. I never had a problem after that in Michigan, and I got involved with the queer scene there because that was fun again, and but then I also was hanging out with the graduate students, and it wasn't a problem that I was queer, and that was kind of a turnaround. While I was there in Michigan, Ellen had her coming out episode. My mom was super supportive, an activist even, calling JCPenney and protesting, and I did come back to San Francisco, and but at that point I didn't feel like I had to. I felt like I'd got the skills. And that was my story of liberation. Newton, Iowa to San Francisco.